I guess we can start off from a common space with the adage, less is more. In the context of film, you could come at that from so many different angles. Less dialogue, less shifts in setting, less characters, shorter runtime, etc. It's a bit of an oversimplification, no? The assumption that a story gets better the more you cut it down. Obviously, that should be defined on a case-to-case basis. But what if we did take that statement as gospel? Approaching every single aspect of the film process with as little of everything as possible? Well, first, we need to clarify that less doesn't necessarily mean less. For example, when we boil a character down to their function, like in Rashomon, built as a more folk tale told from 4 different perspectives, all opposing one another. The beauty of the narrative is in the contradiction, each character weaving a story that justifies their own emotions, their own motives, the truth becoming more abstract as the film goes on. A more traditional approach to narrative would have us quadruple the characters on screen, each trait represented by individuals, but Kurosawa chooses to layer these stories instead. First presenting the robber, Tajomaru, as a master swordsman, killing the husband of the woman he assaulted in fair combat to win her hand. By the 4th version of the story, the robber is a coward, winning the fight by luck, the wife disgusted by him, running at the first chance she gets. You see, Kurosawa doesn't limit the story, but concentrates it, giving the characters depth through conflicting forces and ideas. Each character a combination of 4 others. My mind goes to theater, actors portraying multiple characters in the same play, or spatial minimalism, a story being told from one setting, one stage, if you will. Classic examples like 12 Angry Men, imposing variety on the multitude of characters and not the shots. One of my favorite scripts ever written, Man from Earth, John Oldman, 14,000 years old, describing his life through the millenniums, through wars and empires and religions, all from the comfort of a tiny cabin. The entire narrative driven by dialogue, relying on the audience's imagination to create a sense of diversity. Like stories around a campfire, approaching the work with a sense of economy. You could take it a step further and approach the very DNA of a script with a minimalist point of view. Robert McKee points out 4 different examples of plot. Arc plot, the most traditional, spanning back to the very first storytellers, basically the 3-act structure. Introduction, climax, resolution, to anti-plot, recently popularized by Godard in the French New Wave, built to contradict arc plot in every possible way. To our focus today, mini-plot, a concentration of arc plot. Gus Van Sant's Elephant, recently Luca Guadagnino's Call Me By Your Name, and the masterful Jeanne Dielman by Chantal Akerman. He also mentions non-plot, but for now let's focus on Jeanne. First though, context. I'm no expert on sculpture and physical art, so I apologize if I oversimplify. In 1968, Tony Smith fabricated dye, a 72 by 72 by 72 inch steel cube. Story goes that he phoned into a welding company and specified the diameters of the cube and told them when it was complete to send it directly to the gallery. Tony himself had no contact with the art piece. Tony Smith was a pioneering minimalist of the time, and this piece, I think, beautifully represents the philosophy behind the art movement, in the process and execution of the piece. Jeanne Dielman tells the story of a widowed housewife doing chores and odd jobs to make ends meet. It's a mostly silent story, as we watch her either centered alone in frame, surrounded by strangers, or sitting wordlessly with her son. It's a tedious life, and the entire film is built to present that to you, the audience, without compromise. Every shot repetitive, almost every scene nearly lacking of action, completely emotionless, pseudo-documentary. Though these are two very different art pieces with two very different goals, Chantal Akerman and Tony Smith both acknowledge the power of inactivity. Metaphorically and literally, Tony Smith choosing to strip down visual art to its most fundamental, a geometric shape lacking even his own signature, in an attempt to remove all abstract meaning. To quote another popular minimalist, Frank Stella, "What you see is what you see." With Jean, this sense of intended boredom becomes the sole method of conversation between audience and filmmaker. Stripping a film down to its most basic, no flashy editing or catchy dialogue, just static, symmetrical shots. Chantal choosing to force us to empathize with Jean's experience by making us trudge along with these moments in her life. Less is more. Things get more interesting when you limit an idea to only its necessary parts.